The past couple of weeks have been filled with some absolutely crazy stories, including a real-life heist. So let's dive into them, starting with a hijacking at JFK Airport in New York, where on March 1st, a man was arrested after hijacking an American Airlines bus and taking it on a 17-mile joyride through Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan before getting caught. Police were tipped off by an airport employee who called in the hijacking. Bershawn Quilden stole the running bus around 1:30 a.m. and led police on a 15-mile chase that ended in Brooklyn. Quilden was heard asking NYPD officers as he was brought into custody, "I'm going to jail, right?" He was right. Fortunately, nobody was injured during the hijacking, and the bus appeared unscathed when it was eventually brought to a stop. Quilden was arrested in downtown Brooklyn, and the police are currently investigating the motive behind the hijacking. Now moving on to a series of aircraft seizures in Canada, where low-cost airline Flair has been forced to cancel a number of flights after New York-based Airborne Capital seized 4 of the airline's 18 planes on the morning of March 11th. The seizures took place at airports in Toronto, Edmonton, and Waterloo, causing disruption to as many as 1,300 passengers, with some left stranded and frustrated, especially since many of them were on their March spring break. Flair said it was working to rebook those customers and/or reimburse them, and apologized for the disruption. Flair also said that the seizures were due to an extreme and unusual commercial dispute, for what they describe as a slight delay of a few days in making a small payment of around $1 million. But luckily for the airline, they had said that they just so happened to have 3 spare aircraft laying around that they would use to backfill the canceled flights, and that it didn't expect any major further disruption to its network. But believe it or not, the seizures wasn't even the most interesting part of this story. It's what Flair is now alleging. After the chaotic weekend, Flair Airlines actually filed a lawsuit against Airborne Capital for $50 million. Flair is alleging that Airborne Capital not only acted unlawfully, but that they did so in bad faith. And here's why. According to Flair, Airborne Capital found a new customer willing to pay more for the plane than what Flair had been paying. And that's why, according to the airline, Airborne Capital had given no warning or even any communication of displeasure to Flair, and had agents waiting at 3 separate airports ready to pounce on the planes. Now, Airborne Capital hasn't directly commented on these allegations, but has said that Flair had a pattern of missing payments, and that terminating an aircraft lease is always a last resort for them. Needless to say that this juicy lawsuit is something I'll be keeping an eye on. And finally we go to Santiago, Chile, where on March 8th, 2 were killed in a dramatic attempted heist on airport grounds. More than $32 million in cash was what the robbers were attempting to take from a LATAM Airlines aircraft that had just arrived from Miami. The robbers broke into the airport targeting an armored vehicle that had just picked up the cash. Officials said that the assailants were made up of around 10 people using 3 trucks to break into the premises. Heavily armed and highly organized, they were eventually thwarted by airport security after a shootout. Those who were killed have been reported to be a security officer and one of the assailants. No passengers were injured. The attempted robbery highlights how Chile has been struggling with highly organized crime in the past few years, from numerous desert train heists to a multi-million-dollar seaport robbery. The director of Chile's aviation agency, Raul Porquera, said that they will undoubtedly revise processes and protocols now. I've got to know, what do you make of all these crazy recent events? Please subscribe for more aviation content, and I'll see you in the next one.